Human history goes as far down as the deepest trench in the ocean, spanning millions of years from our earliest inception as a single-cell organism to becoming multicellular and evolving into Homo sapiens, unlocking the ability to craft and use tools that shape the destiny of our future forever. Going forward in time from the earliest cities to the invention of writing, the advancement of mankind accelerated quickly. But who was there to record the events for future generations? The year is roughly 480 BCE in the Greek city of Halicarnassus in Asia Minor, where the continents of Asia and Europe meet in modern-day Turkey. One man was born here who created the study of history as we know it. His name was Herodotus, born in a relatively wealthy family of potentially Greek-Carian ethnic stock. Herodotus was born in a world during the Greco-Persian Wars, which involved the current Persian Empire trying to gain control over mainland Greece. It all began with Cyrus II founding the Achaemenid Empire in 550 BCE. The empire quickly grew, taking control of a vast territory consisting of the Indus River Valley all the way to the Balkan Peninsula and Egypt. Halicarnassus was one of the cities under Persian control, and Herodotus was born into their captivity. Herodotus wasn't a fan of the Persians, as him and his family opposed them through taking part in a failed attempt to overthrow them from Halicarnassus. The consequences for losing this fight sent him into exile. Herodotus took his time to travel, beginning with the island of Samos. He would then make his way to explore Athens. As his travels commenced, he began to record his experiences by conversing with the people of Greece, and in doing so, became a lucrative ethnographer. By reporting on these stories, he kept a critical mind and questioned the validity of these stories. One such narrative included a rumor of giant Indian ants the size between a fox and a dog that would dig up gold. In today's eyes, the story seems silly, but 2,500 years ago, not a lot was known about the world, and Herodotus knew this. He would express uncertainty and doubt in his writing. His view on recording these stories would pave the way for a bigger task that would give him the name as the first historian. Herodotus continued to write throughout the remainder of his life. With the stories he gathered from Greek citizens to the events of a long and dreadful war between the Persians, he began to study the past. He gave his work the name History, meaning inquiry, that of which is to acquire information by investigating and need for proof. Herodotus would distance himself from the prose of other authors at the time, such as Homer, but would have moments in his histories that would introduce storylines he has gathered from locals in his travels. His work, now known to us as the Histories, was the first non-fiction article written for recording history. The Histories contain information dating from before 550 BCE to around 430. Herodotus would spend a lot of time in Athens, which was considered the Greek capital of culture in the 5th century BCE. He would become well known in Athens and would recite portions of his histories to crowds in the city during celebrations and even at the Olympic Games. The narration and storytelling and presentation in his work make it obvious that it was written for public recitation. The information recorded in the Histories was based on reliability. He would consider eyewitness testimonies, autopsies, evidence, and tradition to decide what he wrote down. Herodotus considered 75 to 100 years to be the rough limit of reliable memory. Although he would seek reliable information, his writing does not reflect that. Ultimately, Herodotus would use the information he gathers and decide how he wants to tell the story. For example, he states that the Athenians did most of the work to defeat the Persians, giving less credit to the Spartans and other Greek states involved. It wouldn't be until Thucydides, Herodotus' successor, who would only tell the facts and leave out any opinion. But Herodotus was the first to invent this new biographical way of writing, so why was preserving all this information important to Herodotus? He wanted to celebrate the great deeds people had performed to prevent their memory from fading through time. There was no preference on who did these deeds. He would accommodate both Greeks and non-Greeks, even the Persians. It's been a long journey for Herodotus as he brings his writing to a halt. He would retire and spend the rest of his days in the city of Thurii in southern Italy, where he has become a citizen earlier in his life. The Histories would take Herodotus through a lifelong journey through war, but also through stories he has attained through the locals of his travels that didn't serve a narrative whole, but left important information that can be looked back upon from today to help us understand the time period in which he lived. By writing the first biographical text, he kick-started the study of history that transformed the way we compile information to help future generations understand the world they live in and the mistakes that shall not be repeated. But Herodotus would have wanted his histories to not be seen as only a narrative on the Greco-Persian wars, but to recount the stories and heroics of individuals to show the good of humanity that would have been forgotten through history otherwise. But he acknowledges that good never lasts forever.